Computer. All right. Well, hey, hi. How are you doing, Rodolfo?
Hey, Josh. It's
All right. I'm
always good
gonna.
to see you, man.
This is Rodolfo Peregrina. Him and his wife Andrea lead Vereda in Mexico, Vineyard Church in Mexico City, uh, and we got like the joy of being really close in life and ministry over 12 years. We started Vereda
Seriously.
together. You were our neighbors. Our wives were pregnant together all the time.
Exactly. Our first kids have 4 months of difference, and our second kids have 3 weeks of
3 weeks,
difference.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then when you guys got pregnant on the third one, I decided to move out because I was not ready for a third one.
You chickened out. Like it was
Exactly.
the number of kids we have is an elaborate way to point out that Danya and I won the game of chicken. You guys bailed at the last minute. You stayed with two.
All I
Um,
have to say is you're right.
so we're having this conversation today because as we look at the world is completely changing in light of COVID and its rampage across the globe. And Mexico City is no different. You guys
That is true.
are also in lockdown essentially right now. What does that look like for you guys?
Huh. Um. I think we are 1 week. You guys are 1 week ahead of us. So it has been similar to what you have been sensing. We're 1 week behind. Last week, my youngest girl told me, "Hey, like I miss just going to the park. Why is like how much more? How longer are we gonna have to be dealing with this?" So this is as a family. We're starting, and we were already doing homeschool. We were already like doing now. Staying in is the new going out to eat and stuff, which is good. And so, I mean, lots of great things, but of course, it has major challenges. Being together all the time. That's as a family. As a city, it's very strange and it's very weird because so many. I think it's more than 80% of the Mexicans make their living on a daily basis. They have to go out and bring in what they're gonna eat today. So staying in is not even an option. There's
It's the informal economy.
totally
They're not on a payroll. They're
exactly
whether it's selling juice on the side of the street or running a little store, but it's what I earn today is what I eat tonight.
totally that. And you might remember this place of the east part of the city called Iztapalapa. That is supposed to be our. I mean, I don't want to like put names into it, but it's supposed to be our New York. Because all the economy is made like that, little street markets, and they're happy because somebody just installed like a big tinaco. How do you call that? Like a cistern.
Like a cistern, yeah.
And they can go wash their hands over there and then make their grocery shopping, which of course doesn't lead to anything. Nobody's wearing masks. They're just like, I mean, I guess their mentality is like, if I stay in, I'm definitely gonna die. And if I go out, maybe I'll survive. So there's a bigger chance for me going out than staying in,
So when you're saying it's your New York, it's the numbers there are sort of New York like
Exactly.
numbers. It's
Exactly.
there.
It's explode. That's the place where it's going to explode. And it's supposed to happen either like today or tomorrow.
And
Like
I think,
that's when.
and then for the church, I mean, you guys are a church that's a larger church that meets. There's multiple service in a couple hundred seat auditorium. So you're looking at hundreds of people coming in the doors every Sunday, and from one Sunday to the next, you have to shift. How has that shift been? Because again, that's a lot to move in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean that's very true. We rent an auditorium for 8 hours on a Sunday. That's our venue. So we don't have like an established home, which is good and bad. Like we thought that the building was holding the community. Then we don't have a building anymore. And to our surprise, and a good surprise, is like the community's there. People are hungry, people are connected, people are invested, people are ready to look into the future, which was great. I mean, so much of also of the church is happening it's in the houses, like getting together, of course, I mean, with via Zoom or whatever, but it's being held like that. The community is still there. I was very surprised. Well, the first good thing is we were able to tell that venue, hey, this cannot happen. Can we just like get back to you guys when we're ready to go on? They said yes, which was good. But I guess the good surprise is that we are able to see that it's not a building that holds us in. It's not a building that keeps us together. It's more than that. The church is God's. It's not ours. And like we could be closed for. This is the sense that I have. Like we could be closed for the rest of the year, for 2 years, and it still go on because it's His. It's not ours, right?
And I mean, and this is when you speak like that, like there's a lot of faith in it, but there's also faith in the faith in light of the realities that, again, there's so much informal commerce or informal sort of like pay that comes in, that the majority of giving historically in Vereda had been on Sunday offerings. Like it's not giving online, all things. So how economically you still have bills to pay, there's still people on staff. How's the economics of the church been since you guys have not been able to meet together?
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, yeah, there is. I think we're not because we're not getting the Sunday offerings. Of course, we're short of budget. But to be honest, Josh, and I'm sure that you guys have lots of good stories about that. But it's been like counting the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's like I know what there is, but all of a sudden, like, hey, like we're doing everything, and there's still money there, and like I don't have an answer because I know that there is lack because we're not meeting, and I know that everything is paid. And personally, like I have seen how like even my like credit card debt is like going down, and I'm getting less into what I'm to my account. And so I mean it's been awesome, it's been great. But also, of course, I mean, there, as you were saying, there is always faith and hope, but you have to still see that there is a lack, and see how, I guess, you have to be able to see that there is room for God to be in the equation. And yeah, it's great.
And so as you guys navigate this, so you switch to online services, you're figuring out this, Zoom, all these different things, which we're all doing really around the world at this point.
Yeah.
How has ministry changed? How have you shifted the focus, especially in a culture and a country where there is going to be people that are really, we're not talking about, I don't have what I want. We're talking about, I don't have food to eat. How has ministry for the church shifted in the last couple of weeks?
Ministry was, we are out 1 day a week, just delivering food. And that has been possible because of the informal economy that we were talking about. There is a guy that goes to the Central de Abastos, you know where that place is?
The big market. It's like one of the world's largest outdoor markets. I think it's the largest fish market in the world. But yeah,
I think so.
Giant.
Yeah. Anyways, we have good memories going there for fish.
That's a story for another day, but yeah.
For sure. Anyways, so because of that, we have this contact. This guy brings in like the food, and we've been able, every Friday we're delivering food. We're to anybody. Like the goal is like a concentric circles. Let's focus on our community, but if we can go bigger, that's great. And it's like the calling of Jesus. Hey, let's focus on our neighbors, then our city, then whatever's next, and then the rest of the world. So a big percentage of our income is going. I think we've increased 300% of what we were giving out, now what we're giving. And I think that's the right thing. I mean, we're not paying rent right now, but we have to do something. And I think that, like when you shake a tree and you see how leaves fall in, and you see there are leaves that hang into the tree, And as a pastoral work, I think the tree has been shaken, and there are leaves that fall off, and there are leaves that are going to be there. And I think we need to walk with people. We need to be there with people. And so we're doing that in a very higher percentage than we were doing before.
Yeah, and I mean, what I love about Vereda is that it's a missional. And the mission starts, like you said, in the concentric circles. And so I think what's the word I'm looking for, but the agility to be able to shift focus and say, okay, here's where the need exists. That really sets a good mark for the way I think we should all be living, that we're able to pivot and say, okay, here's where the need is, and this is maybe where Jesus is calling us into. That's serving the most vulnerable. And so,
you lived a couple of issues that happened here. We were together with the pandemic for the H1N1. We were here for the earthquake, the big earthquake. And I don't want to be like patriotic or anything, but you've seen how like Mexicans in a high risk situation, like something happens and they're there to serve, right?
Yeah, there is something about crisis in the country of in Mexico, and with Mexicans as a whole, where it ignites the best of the people, and they really embrace the we. And I think what's interesting, and this is another question, maybe, like this pandemic really makes us think about how we're suffering personally, because I'm in my home and I'm like, man, I don't have this, and I can't do this, and I'm missing out on all these things. And what it does essentially is rob us of empathy. And so what you guys are doing by going out is reminding the church of the power of the we, and not forgetting empathy, even in the midst of our own personal struggles.
You guys were, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you guys were studying Haggai.
Yeah.
And we see that like in the first chapter, how they're having difficulties on building the temple, where they're having difficulties like economical and their agriculture stuff. And immediately what they do, they focus on themselves. Let's build my house. I want to provide a safe living for me. And that's what God challenges them and says, like, hey, what about my house? What about the temple? And of course, the temple now with us. So,
yeah. And so my question, so here's this, like, as you're going through this, and I think Mexico stands to be hit pretty hard by this economically. So like if you have 80% of your country that is in informal sort of earning, informal wages and earning and structures like that, and they're unable to work, the pressure is going to put socially on the country as a whole is going to be pretty heavy. So what are some of the things that we can do to partner? Like what are like, and first of all, I do know economics is a part of that. And so like, if you go to the HoustonVineyard.org and our giving site, you can give to the Mexico City project. That money will get to Vereda in Mexico and the work of the well as well. So that's one way we can do it. But prayer, what are some of the prayers that we can be praying that are specific for you guys as a church and you as a family? What are those things?
I think that's a great question. Because of course there's a lot of need, but there is always more need than there are resources, right? I mean, we've seen it in the world, and of course the situation of the world reflects that there's way more need than there are resources. So, well, yeah, thank you for the resources, of course, praise God. But, like just knowing that we're together on this, just knowing that we get, like, you guys are living a very similar situation that what we're living over here, that, I don't know, like there's a sense of like fulfillment when we know that we're walking together. Prayer, like there are 4 things, and I don't know if like they translate again, that 4 P's in at least in Spanish. It's peace, protection, provision, and perspective that we've been praying for. And I guess when we have all like the 4 of them, and it's perspective, of course, that brings the whole everything together, because of course we're not having the same, we're limited. But when you get the perspective, I guess you go to the 5P, which is the presence.
Yeah. So let's say those again. What are those? So it's peace.
It's peace, provision, protection, perspective. Which leads us though to a fifth P, which is his presence.
His
Now we
presence,
know that he's with us, and we're covered. I mean, I have God is always good, and I have a definition of good, and he has another one, and sometimes it's not the same, but his is
Often
better.
it's not. Often it's
Exactly, right? But his
often.
is better, so I can trust, and that from their perspective comes.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll close out on this. First of all, again, if anybody needs to get a hold of you guys, if somebody would like to get a hold of you, like what would be a good way to like send an encouraging word? You guys, again, if you want to give financially to the work that's happening in Mexico City, you can do it through our site, HoustonVineyard.org, giving, and then the line item is Mexico City Project. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if they wanted to see some of the stuff that you guys are doing, maybe the online content in Spanish, what would be a good way to do that?
Well, we're doing everything via Facebook, like in regards of the content and on online services, whatever. On our Facebook Live, on our page, which is Vereda Mexico, and maybe we can spell that later. Vereda Mexico in Facebook, or Vereda.mx in Instagram. We have a YouTube page and everything, but I mean, just I guess like an email is always good. An email is always good. Well, my email is rodol@vereda.mx.
I'll make sure that I get all that stuff in the description, so all the links will be there for people. And then last question, as you look forward, because I mean, we are, the irony of today is that today is so heavy, but we still need to be looking forward. What, as you look forward to Vereda as a church, for your city, for your country, for the world, and for the kingdom of God, what is the thing that's giving you hope? What is the thing that you're seeing that gives you hope?
That's and again, I'm gonna reflect on Haggai for this, but I think it's awesome when they say, "Hey, like, have you seen the temple? Does anybody remember of the other temple? Like, this is ridiculous, right? I mean, and of course they're facing like a really bad agriculture stuff, and it's like, oh, but it doesn't matter. At least we have a great temple. Well, we don't anymore. It was destroyed. But guess what? Like, because of the desire of the nations is going to come into this temple, this is going to be way better than the other one. So this is what gives me hope. I guess we can not and we're in transition right now. I think like what we're living right now, it's a transition. It's not our ultimate situation or the last one. We're just going to get to a new one, and we don't want to cling into the last one, because that what we I don't know if it was good or bad, but at least I know it. But the next one is going to be better if we allow the desire of the nations to actually make temple in me. So it is weird, and it is difficult to see, because nobody likes change, but it is hopeful. I think God is taking us to a way better place. I think we're discovering so many things. Again, like the tree has been shaken, and so many leaves have come down to the ground. But there are some that are still there, and we need to pay attention to those, because from that, I think the glory for the next season is going to be way better, just because Jesus gets to be in it.
Even if the temple looks different.
Right? And even if it's not like what the temple can do or the size of it, it's just because he's there.
Yeah.
That makes it better.
Well, hey, first of all, I love you.
I love you too, man.
Like, you're my brother. There's very few people in the world that I feel at home with as I do, as Danya and I do with you and Andrea. We're family. It's like, there's just no way around that.
And then it's not just about us, and I of course feel the same, but our kids are like,
our kids,
seriously.
Yeah, it's probably not healthy, but but also I just want to like confirm, like, you've been faithful through your life. Like, you have said yes to Jesus at many different paths, and that path has taken you through some really hard times and some real times of glory and joy. There is nobody on earth that is better suited or more equipped to lead this church and to pastor the city of Mexico City like you are today. And so in the midst of chaos, you are exactly who God needed. And I'm thankful you said yes. And the church is lucky to have you. The city is blessed by your presence, and you're awesome.
Josh, wow. I received those words. I'm really thankful. I mean, you have been there close to me, like the last 12, 13 years, I guess, of my life. And you were there when my first daughter was gonna be born, and I had nobody to speak words of me, and you came in and you gave me a letter, and I will always remember that. And you always have a good word for me, and I just want to say thank you. I love you. I love you too.
Love you, man.
Yeah, even though you're younger than me, you're like a older brother.
I'm essentially a fetus in comparison.
Love
right.
you lots, man.
Hey, love you, man. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.